and we are about to do our season recap. And best way to do that is when you're slightly hungover. So let's hit some intro music. I was hoping my head could be pounding to start this show. Hello, everybody, and welcome into our season recap. I'm Aiden R. Dugnar, the Duck League champ. You can find me on all socials at Duck League champ. We are talking our season recap. We're going to be going into how we did in our leagues, how we did on the gambling show, how we have been managing this crazy 2025 season and rolling it into 2026. We have a guest appearance already, and you know we're keeping it moving. League Champ is running contests all the way through the playoffs, so keep in there. We will be putting them out week over week. And Scott, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. New year, fun fantasy season. Didn't feel myself get burnt out this year. Really had a good time doing the pod with you. And already thinking about next year, I saw people put out some way too early rankings, and I'm like, why is it way too early? Less than 30 days until the big board opens up and we can be drafting again. So I don't know. It's a year-round sport these days. I love almost as much the mystery of what could happen as much as the final sweat. So things are
See,
good.
I love that you're an early season guy that hasn't gotten into prospects yet. That's such a rarity because like most people that are into it, like I kind of had to get into the prospect field, and you're going to be doing a little of that, but like where it's never too early to start getting those drafts in, getting your reps in. Like consistency is the easiest way to get good at this stuff, and the more I've been working on this, the more I've seen that like honestly being in that many leagues it kind of makes a big difference on how you start seeing player values, how you like can adjust. It lets you be a bit more fluid, I think.
Yeah, definitely seeing more success in my redraft leagues from the reps during the offseason. Being in tougher lobbies throughout, seeing a lot of different makeups, kind of understanding how the draft flows and where the value is, gives you a head start coming out of the draft. You can't guarantee anything in fantasy. Had a great team that stumbled down the stretch. I mean, my dynasty, another example of a team that all was good until Patrick Mahomes went out with a knee injury, and then Rashee Rice pops up with a concussion, and all the dice fall. So all you can do is give yourself the best shot of being there. You're not going to win every year. You're talking about 1 in 12, 1 in 10, 1 in 14. But yeah, getting those reps gives you an edge when you get to the redraft in
Oh, I
September.
totally agree. Well, that's a good intro to it. How'd you do in your leagues this year, Scott? I was devastated to see your team go out of the Dynasty Finals. I thought you had it this year.
Yeah, it was a bummer on Dynasty, but I can't complain. I won my home league for the first time since we started doing the trophy about 5 years ago. I won right before that, but it's kind of reincarnated since then. My wife joined. All right. So it's fun to take that home. A super flex league with Drake May, Brock Purdy, 6 point per passing touchdown. I think we can all see how that ended up. Really fun to watch those two Niner games the last couple weeks and take home a ship. Anything to brag about on your side?
Well, I'll throw this one on. We got Armin in the chat here. Love FanCred. Definitely check their stuff out. We're going to be moving a lot of our league safe ones over to FanCred. I don't know. Did you also deal with the league safe glitching out system at the end of this season?
I don't know. What was glitching out?
Oh, dude, like for like 6 hours, it was absolutely impossible to get your league safe to like handle the votes, to have it actually do the payouts, and then when you get the payouts, you always see the $20 fee or whatever bullcrap they throw in there. I, well, we're giving Armin enough love here. I can talk about my teams. But my teams did good. I did really well in Dynasty this year, kind of average in redraft. Like pulled off one or two shifts, but mostly my strategy of going old in Dynasty startups really paid off this year. As they say, we'll see how that works next year, Cotton. But yeah, I'm rooting for it. My AARP team managed to win, and it definitely needed to because I don't got a quarterback on my roster under 35 years old, so I'm a little bit terrified of that team. And if it didn't win this year, I don't know that it's going to win next year. I think that needs to do a bit of a rebuild.
Oh man, it's fun having a younger dynasty team. I only have two, and the one we're in together is definitely my main one. But when I look at the team and I already don't have holes that need filling, it's exciting what the prospects could be. So looking
Yeah,
forward to next year or starting the grind right now, making a trade, figuring it out.
damn right. I have a feeling we'll be able to work out a trade going into this next year too. I'm excited for my team in our dynasty league. I think that one's got wheels. The rebuild's been longer than I wanted it to be, but this year it had a little bit of something going on at times. Just when you face the juggernaut teams that just have their best weeks, you sometimes just gotta sack up and be like, okay, I'm rebuilding this year. Let's get some assets. So hopefully Trey Benson ends up playing again. I got him in all sorts of leagues, and
Oh man,
I'm
more Trey Benson
terrified.
propaganda.
Dude, come on, he's got to be good at football. There's no reason he's not. We'll see. We'll see. But that brings us into best ball. How'd your best ball teams do? I'm guessing you had a decent end of this year. I had a couple teams 1 point away, which absolutely killed me. But yeah, Jonathan Taylor just didn't end this year the way I wanted him
Yeah, which was quite contradictory to last year, where he won people championships with his play down the stretch. But you really never know. Once again, another really heavy RB year, especially in the finals. I think I read that out of the top 36 receivers, only one of them had more than 13 and a half points, where you had 12 running backs or so who had that number. So, um, I had two teams that made the finals, which is so fun to have those sweats. I was feeling pretty good going into Monday night to have a chance in the flocking 11. Ended up with a 21st finish as Drake London had one catch, and we saw Puka get a couple called back. It wasn't meant to be this year, but the sweat was fun. Had a really successful big eliminator team with my best bud Austin. That we took home a nice little profit there. All in all, down a little bit this year, which is a tough game that you play, and it's all about succeeding in the finals. So, but I had a higher than average advance rate expected for my tournaments. It was fun to have two final teams now for the third year in a row, and looking towards what I can do better next year while I build out my next portfolio.
Yeah, I'm ready to run back that big board money we got for the paying it back entry and just hit that roster again. I felt good about that team. We were just a little bit off. A good lesson learned this year is be uh, don't be as free and loose with the QB position. It's a little bit more unpredictable than you think. And my Jaden Daniels, Justin Herbert, JJ McCarthy teams definitely suffered down the stretch because of those choices. So that's a lesson learned for me. Armin thrown in here. AJ Dillon was my Trey Benson. Happens to all of us. AJ Dillon's a lot of our Trey Bensons, man. I feel that. I wanted to believe in Quadzilla as much as anybody else, but it's been a fun season. I feel like, especially since we've started working together, I've really gotten a better idea of how the best ball streets really work and how you can make that a profitable endeavor. Because like even when you have those teams that don't make it to the sweats, you like I played almost primarily in tournaments this year after being fully in like the small scale leagues. Like my best ball strategy was always like, oh, I'm taking home like $500 and I'm putting 1,000 in, like I come out a little bit ahead. And being in the tournaments is a whole different ball game. I feel like it really does make the game like I think that's the optimal way to play it because I always was like, okay, it feels like a lot of work for it, but when you're actually playing for those big money cups, like you start seeing why you're actually going through those reps, why you're taking chances on different players, different builds, different strategies to kind of even out your exposures. And it makes a lot more sense to me, I think, too. Like I'm starting to really fall in love with that part of the game, which has been a pretty neat revelation.
Yeah, and if you're not enjoying the experience of it, the draft, the community, the sweat, the thing to root for, then what are you doing it for? Because it's one very long slate. Like each week is a slate when you do DFS, right? Or you can even have a
Yeah.
game that is a slate. But best ball is one season at a time, and just like any form of gambling, you're not going to be positive every year. It's you need more data points. You need extended time in the game to do so. And when your slate is 365 days at a time, then enjoy it. Enjoy when you have a good team. Like find friends to do a draft with together with some of the slow draft formats. Like we're gonna do something this summer, or we're gonna do a draft a week. Like get a community together and just talk through football and get excited about it early and often. Like I don't know. I've given up other sports and I focus on football year round. So I'm just it gives me something to do and something to think through on my daily life. And I don't know, it's kind of a hobby at the end of the day. I did a quick calculation. I said if every draft was 30 minutes and I spent roughly 3 hours a week just like checking in, looking at different teams, having something to root for, it cost me like $3 an hour for all the time I put into best ball this year. And that's not even like the time I spend thinking about it or all the other random stuff. So that's a pretty good deal.
Rosterbation is a big part of my Wednesdays too. But but we're here for the gambling show. We're here to recap how we did this season. So let me get a little drum roll here. I love the soundboard. I'm getting better at that.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, let's break it into the gambling season. How did your season go for this year? I basically came out even. I was pretty happy with my bets. I felt like I figured out some stuff down the road, but early on, I was definitely making some questionable calls for the season.
Yeah, so I tracked my gambling from a macro level, aka dollars in versus dollars out across the different apps. Definitely leverage promotions in Underdog and Sleeper to come out on top. It's a pretty consistent thing I've noticed over the last couple of years. I even printed out a statement and it's like, I'm down over time, but when you factor in all the promos, I've pulled $500 out of the system or something. And so there's money to be won there, but we know that that's a hard game to play. And I know that people are looking into it and they're like, it's the five pick 'em. That's really the best value. I mean, shoot, honestly, I'm pulling three together to have something to root for during a game and high five when we win $50. Like that's what that's all about. And then the gambling, I have some futures bets pending, but it looks like up, I don't know, 10 to 20 units. I think that's one thing I haven't done a good job of. And I want to do better next year is keeping track of my record or official plays versus my unit size is so small that I just like having something to root for. And who cares if I throw an extra $5 on this touchdown? Like when it does hit, it's fun. So did really well the last 2 weeks. Hit a huge London Burden game last Saturday or Sunday night. Ladders, had some Loveland double TD that we didn't quite get. But that was fun. And then the week before, had a little Tank Bigsby magic at the end of the game that netted me a couple $100 there. So a couple of good weeks to close the season to put me up overall. In terms of like player pick futures, a lot of injuries took mine down, but I'd say overall my decisions were pretty good there. Nico Collins touchdowns, Brock Bowers touchdowns. That one was very easy despite all the injuries. Dak Prescott passing yards. Mahomes was well on his way to his passing yards before he got hurt. Jordan Love was well on his way before he's going to miss these last 2 games, unfortunately. So injuries are always a part of those over-unders, and that's why people advise to actually take the unders on those. But what fun is that to root for? So those were some good futures. And then I kind of fumbled the bag on the offensive rookie in the year. I had a really good Dart piece, a really good Mbuka piece, a really good Henderson piece before the season. I took a little Tataroa recently, but Shuck coming down to almost be even odds. So I did throw some money at that to make sure I don't lose overall, but felt like there was a better path of that. Could have taken Shuck when I did my Tataroa hedge 2 weeks ago and, uh, made an extra 100, $200.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah.
just fun to root for.
I mean, dude, Chuck's a bit of an anomaly to me because I haven't seen enough to think he's like a dynamic quarterback. Because like he's shown some stuff with his legs. He's been an above average prospect, definitely better than I thought he could be in the NFL, even to this point. He's turned Chris Olave into a consistent asset, and that team actually has looked fairly confident even without a running game, which is, to be honest, like way out of left field for me. I didn't have that in my bingo card whatsoever. But I think the guy could really solidify it this week. Like they're playing the Falcons, they can end this year on a high note. I'm rooting for my Saints guys. Rocco, if you're out there listening, hey, I'm starting to believe. I saw a little bit from Estime even last week, which is kind of nice. Good to see him come back to the world. But
Aren't you a hater? Aren't you an Esta
yeah,
hater?
well, because I was an Estime lover in Denver and he let me down so thoroughly. He was one of those. I He pulled me out and he's pulling me back in at this point. I, I'm willing to believe again. I still think he's an okay prospect, but it's about explosiveness. That team is going to be an interesting one to watch this offseason because if Kendra Miller can come back, if Devin Neal can come back strong, like they have a decent depth roster there, and they could turn into an adequate ball club by next season. So I'm willing to have the Saints be good by next year. Like they're doing that rebuild the right way finally after all those years of Drew Brees leveraging their future. But let's get back into the season long because we had all sorts of bets. And we own the bad takes here. That's always been my priority on these pods. Make sure we talk about the bad first, and I'll leave this off because the one that stood out to me, I went through all of our show sheets. I know what I wrote down. I know what I talked about on these, and I kept telling you to bet on Justin Jefferson during the season around. Now this week notwithstanding, I think we're going to be on the same page of how JJ might end this year, but throughout, it's been a bumpy ride. Rosmer, JJM have really struggled to get him the ball, and that would probably be my least favorite call I made this whole season.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson was the fantasy anti-MVP this year. Had him on the home league, the championship team. So work through that. Is this going to create great value for him going into next year? I'm hearing him at the 2-3 turn right now. We know running backs are going to be pushed up, and he's one of the guys I'm already circling for next year. So never wrong, just early, right? And I kind of like what I've been seeing from JJ. He's got some raw potential, just like all these rookie quarterbacks. And would you rather have JJ or Bryce Young in his third year right now? I mean, I'd much rather have JJ personally.
JJ, without a doubt. But I also have never thought Bryce Young was that great because I tried to play quarterback at 5'9", and it doesn't look pretty.
Nothing you do looks pretty, but that's okay.
Oh, thank you, bud. I'll give you a drum joke for that. Oh, sorry, I got it. Timing is something I'm going to work on this next year. I also kept thinking JSM was going to revert to the mean. He finally did after I stopped betting on it. But yeah, that one's just one where I didn't think Sam Darnold had it in his bag to turn a wide receiver into a wide receiver one a full season, even though he did it for Justin Jefferson. But I guess Sam's got a little bit there. The one I want to call you out on here, and I'm sure you noticed this on the show sheet, is one of the bad takes we had this year was the touchdown being due. And you're the due. Like, you do the due. Like, how are you feeling about that?
I think I wrote due somewhere down below, too. So, overall, I do think that I did well on TD bets throughout the season. Yes. It was something I did better, too, as the week went longer, when I had more time to look into it. But I definitely want to keep a lot of my TD bets in the plus 250 and above range. I, I think I think that seems to
Yeah,
be more the profitable place to be than chasing some of these do players like Zay Flowers at plus 170. Or I did the same thing with McBride the previous season.
yeah, without a doubt. Like I mean, definitely am a fan of those touchdown bets, and we'll definitely get to that when we go to the good. I'll skip one of the bad ones and move it to like believing in rookies early and those players early. Like I saw JJM as a really good value in the early betting market, and after that first week against Chicago, I definitely felt emboldened in that, and it didn't end up working out there. Same sort of thing like with Ibuka starting to come down over the stretch. Like Henderson taking a while to develop, Terrence Ferguson. Like there are a lot of examples of rookies taking longer to develop into competent starters. Hell, Cam Ward's probably the easiest answer there. Like I think a lesson I learned is wait until you see it probably. Like that's what I kind of am leaning towards as my takeaway from that because I think you kind of do need to see it with these rookies before you start believing that they're going to be every week contributors, especially to your betting
Yeah, that's a really good point. I'm a full blown left wing slappy, and I am always thinking the best of these rookies, and they're going to break out. And recently, they have been breaking out, and there's been a lot of money to be made. There's a name you have on this list here, Terrence Ferguson. He's really come on the last couple weeks, and his TD props have been excellent. Easy wins. I mean, he almost had two TD. 2 games ago, which was a really
line.
nice odds. And like you could see it coming because we've started to see it. And some of the deep balls weren't connecting, but he was on the field more. And I think Trey Harris is in a good spot. I don't know what his playing status is for this Sunday. I'm definitely keeping an eye out for him. Kyle Williams, he was randomly 11, like plus 1100 uh, for a touchdown on Sunday Night Football, and me and Austin have been following him all season. So I just threw in a bet that night. I was like 11-1
Oh
is
yeah.
too high. Boom, catches that one. So just have him on your radar, right? We were kind of watching Pat Bryant, but he never really got there. Or Luther Burden and Loveland this weekend. I was early a little bit on Loveland by a week, but then I followed through the next week, and sure enough,
Exactly.
the cat is out the bag now. So now you can't chase. Now you got to kind of watch it happen this week for sure.
Yeah, and I feel like that under adjustment from Vegas is something that we keyed in on throughout this year. That's one of my favorite takeaways from this season is that when you do see it, if Vegas doesn't react the way that you're reacting to what you see on the field, believe your eyes. Like go for it right off the bat. One set of lines that I did absolutely awful on, like probably the worst way that I was betting this season was the rushing lines because that was one where I I don't know what it is. I want to see if it's consistent year over year. If I was having that same problem last year, because I keyed in on games where guys got 20 carries. I keyed in on games where guys were getting 30 carries, and it did not matter. The rushing lines were pretty on the nose from Vegas, and the unders actually hit a lot more than the overs, which is never your favorite thing to bet on. So I don't know. Going into this next year, I'm going to focus more on those TD props, the carry props, the ones or the longest rush ones where you're betting on that volume paying off and not just betting on them getting the yardage because the yardage actually might be less indicative of team success. I think maybe.
Yeah, I have seen a lot of success on the high yardage totals being over. It
Yeah,
feels bad when you bet it, but Achan was a great example of that this year. His number was starting to
love
float in
that.
the 80s, and I was like, I don't know. And he continued to rush for over 100 yards. So don't be scared by those high numbers for running backs because when it's meant to happen, it'll happen. I do tend to bet more receivers. I just love something about the alts, and a receiver can do not much, but then they can also grab a 60-yard bomb. So I do spend more of my time in the receiver realm, and I
Hey,
do feel like they're
volatility is
mispriced.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, volatility is where you want to be making these ones, anyways. But hey, you threw one on here. Too much bet volume. I kind of resonate with that one. I didn't overdo it this year. I definitely did less than normal. I have 14 betting apps on my phone, so I definitely have the opportunity with the promos sometimes to go a little overboard. I tried to keep it a little bit closer to the bets this year. Hey, what do you mean by that one?
That's interesting because in California we don't have books, so I have my own favorite offshore, and that is my one book. And whatever the line is the price I'm paying. I think the biggest thing is know what your goal is and why are you doing this. In reality, I'm not doing sports betting to make money. I'm doing sports betting to have fun, to be right, to make a couple bucks, to be a part of a community. Yeah, really to be right, right? To be predictive and then have it turn into a couple bucks. Uh, and sometimes I kind of just get carried away and I'm betting on games that like maybe I'm not interested in, or I don't know. Just I like to stay in my lane, find an island game that I like. I think I added that into the bad too. Was I really went
Yes.
overboard on some of the Thursday night games just because we get here and we get hyped up and
We start talking gambling. We're like, yeah, we got to put a bet on.
yeah, yeah. Oh, okay. It's and like we're over people, like most people are, and those Thursday night games don't often lend themselves to over. So, just being mindful of what the game is, or if it's Sunday night and I'm only semi interested in the game, shutting it down, not putting in the couple of bets, and enjoying an extra couple hours with my wife or something. So, uh, yeah, just having the takes that I care about that I want to root for and some of the noise, just because I saw it on X and thought it was a good idea. Does it matter to have that volume or yeah, probably not.
I'm with you there. And let's move it into the good. You have here a winning year. I'm with you there. We were pretty on it in general. And one thing I think we did great was believing in the streets. You mentioned Colston Loveland there. Michael Wilson was one of the ones that I had on there. Roma Dunze early in the season, you were on that. We had Blake Corum as he started that breakout, and I have this next one on there as Houston as a whole. We were tended to be above market on that team, especially you. And that's something I think we keyed in on. Like when you see the hot streaks, bet into them until they stop hitting because you can be ahead of Vegas on those, and that's really the way that you can win that market.
Yeah. And I think that's what comes with the volume too is be patient and wait for those spots to pop up that are really good. Like don't bet Loveland just because you want to bet Loveland. Bet Loveland because Komet is out this week and like, it's been percolating and now the explosion comes. So yeah,
Totally.
definitely seeing it and waiting to play into it in the right time.
Totally. And I also love the goal line wide receivers. Made ton of money on Devontae Adams this year, who just continued to be a goal line presence. Pickens, decent amount. Tetaroa, Nico, Alec Pierce. Like the goal line wide receiver is actually something that started to be more of a staple of NFL ball clubs. And that's something that I love for the gambling aspect because touchdown lines tend to be the most efficient way to make money. At least they have been for us this year.
I think QB rushing TDs we've seen them go up. We've seen them from
They
more
have.
random individuals. I have a buddy who constantly puts them together in all different arrays. Uh, but definitely something to watch for. A lot of quarterbacks are running, even some who weren't as mobile in the past. Stroud starting to run a little bit more. Jordan Love runs it a little bit more. So just keep an eye out for those. I'm surprised Drake May had so few rushing touchdowns this year. I mean, he was so efficient chucking the ball, he didn't need to run it in. But his TD props, I mean, they haven't been good. Haven't been playing them myself, but I've been monitoring them plus 200. And when they're in the 300 range, you almost got to bet it that day because he's liable at any point.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. And we've seen those team regression to the means. That was my next bullet point on here, so I'll break right into it. But like Houston, the Bears, we've seen those teams start to buy into their identity. We saw the same thing from Dallas this year. Like when you start seeing those teams that are good environments, even if you have a bad week on them, it's good to believe that the team's going to regress to the mean, even if the players aren't, and to spread those bets a little bit more frequently between those. But moving into the next one here, man, trust in those breakouts, like the Hendo breakout, the Judkins breakout, AD Mitchell, we were ahead of schedule, Tez Johnson, you were ahead, Kelsey, I believed in the whole year. Like those are really good ways to get into the market on those gambling lines too. Like I like to believe in those breakouts, and Vegas will always be behind, especially on lower tier players like the Alec Pierces, AD Mitchells of the world.
Looks like we had a pretty good year.
Yeah, it looks like we did. Anything else you want to talk about in this year? I'm with you on the QB touchdown lines. I don't want to talk about running backs anymore. I just talk about carry lines, and I'm not going to recommend that people look at carry lines because that clearly is an indicator that I have too many gambling apps.
Oh well, sometimes you got a good line with the carries. Yeah, not always the most fun one to watch either.
Yeah.
No, I think it's good. I mean, take these lessons learned. You don't have to wait till next year. Playoffs are right around the corner. Have good takes. Measure your inputs, like measure your outputs, and have next year when we're having this, we can put some real better numbers behind it.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I like our show sheet now too. It's way more organized. But let's move it into the big games. We have a couple big ones this week. We'll go through them pretty quickly. We have a couple lines we like on them, but let's start with the out players. Main ones are here in Pittsburgh. They are without DK Metcalf because he was mad at somebody and punched them in the face. Details are still coming out, so I won't comment on why he was mad, aside from them using his full name, which I'm skeptical being the main reason. But to be honest, you shouldn't be talking to the fans either way. So it was a bummer to see DK lose his cool like that. Darnell Washington got himself injured too. He is sadly not going to be part of that Ravens Pittsburgh game on Sunday night. And this one, nobody cares about aside from me, but Jatavion Sanders is out for the remainder of this season. That's probably my least favorite call I had this year. I really want to see JT Sanders turn into a big play guy.
Yeah, borderline undraftable next year. It'd have to be on a Bryce team and more in like a 20-round draft.
I think so too. I'm not in it on him anymore. Like you can't buy in until you see it for a bit, and that team hasn't been terribly efficient anyways. But guys that are in, Tedero McMillan is no longer ill. He's coming off stinker though, and Lamar is playing in this week, despite his best efforts to not play during any important weeks for your fantasy team or the Ravens real life team.
Oh man, Lamar's back and his rushing line is back at 25 and a half. What do we do? What do we do in a must-win game?
They pulled me back in. I'm betting it again.
Oh my gosh, I haven't. Well, you'll see what I feel about that game when we get down to it. So, shall we get started? How about the Carolina Tampa game? Where are you at? I have a Carolina future to win the division, which doesn't even make sense to hedge on this game anymore. Now that the Falcons can win, I can go hedge on the next game. What the hell is going to happen with these two absolutely terrible football teams, and why can the New Orleans Saints not actually take the division and go in their place?
I'm so annoyed because I would love to see New Orleans in the playoffs. I don't think they're the best team from that division in any way, shape, or form, but just I I like the breakout from that squad more. Like I don't want to see Kirk Cousins in a freaking playoff game. Like I've seen Kirk Cousins in a playoff game. I don't want to see Bryce Young in a playoff game, but unless he's playing my Bears, which he probably won't because they're going to win a division. But yeah, on this one, my favorite line, you actually beat me to it, was Mike Evans' touchdown at 160. But I'm willing to go back to Emeka Ibuka. 25 yards is too low. Like I I see here you're Jalen McMillan on this one, which makes sense. You've been a McMillan guy since day one, and I can respect it. And honestly, you've been right more than me since they've been back in the lineup. But 25 yards is just so low, and he's a dynamic prospect. They need to win this game. He's arguably the fourth target on the field. I want to believe that it's going to happen. Talk me off.
58% of 58% of plays last week after 56 the week before. Ever since McMillan has come back, he's just not on the field nearly as much. He was targeted 5 times. 25 yards is really low, and they're definitely teasing you to take it. So, my guy is McMillan. I think the line I like most on him this week is his TD prop at 3-1. He doesn't have one since coming off of injury. He was a big target for the Bucks last year, especially down the stretch. I know we have a different offensive play caller, and that was kind of the thesis coming in. But he's come back from his injury, and he's been an important part of this team, and they want to get him out there. I mean, it's pretty obvious, and it happened right away. We were texting. I was on the plane watching his first game back, and I was like, "Wow, McMillan is already on top of Mbuka." Let's see. So he too is running about the exact same number of routes and playing as many snaps as Mbuka. But last week he had 9 targets, 7 catches, and 114 yards. So welcome back,
And looked
Jalen
great.
McMillan. 3-1 to score a touchdown tomorrow against the Panthers.
I respect it. And I think you got another tall receiver here. How are you feeling about Tedero?
Yeah, I like Tataroa tomorrow. Really big game, and he's got his Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year title, like in his grasp. Yeah, both of these guys, McMillan and Mbuka and McMillan, are racing towards 1,000 receiving yards as rookies. Last week did not help Tataroa whatsoever. I believe he had 1 target the entire game, was not feeling very well, which came up right before. And I think we see a bounce back here against what's been a terrible Bucks defense. I'd expect somewhere between 7 and 9 balls going his way. As long as this turns into a little bit of shootout, he should be easily able to get over the 60.5 yard mark.
Okay, the next one on here, I need you to confirm this line that you put on here. Seattle is plus 825 to win the division. Are you kidding me?
No, no, no. I have
Okay.
a plus 825 ticket,
Oh, you
and I got
don't.
to figure out how to hedge this one. But it looks like Seattle is favorite. I don't know.
I was gonna say there's no way that line exists.
No, I think I got that in week 2 or 3 of the year, and it's been fun to root for. Seemed like 800 was a little wild for a team that looked like they were pretty good early on, and excited to have it. But yeah, I do think I want to hedge a little bit. Once again, not a huge ticket, but want to walk home with something. And I just feel right now with the Niners, you never know. Their defense sucks.
It's bad.
Divisional game, like, are we going to see a little bit more defense? All these divisional games have been much lower scoring between these teams this year for the Niners and for Seattle. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I'm with
I
you.
don't know. It'll be a fun game. I'm super excited. That's the game I'm really looking forward to this week. And the one thing I like within it, well, I guess I like 2 things, but the one thing I really like is CMC receiving yards. He's about 110 away from the first thousand running back since LaDainian Tomlinson,
Yep.
and I think they're going to try to get him there. I mean, it's a pretty big feat. We expect it to be an offensive game, and Seattle has led the league in targets to running backs. So I've been betting some CMC alts. I think it's like 15-1 for 110. I mean, you got to take a little piece
I
of
love
that.
it.
If CMC is gonna get his bonus checks, then we're gonna get ours. So CMC over 40.5 receiving yards is his baseline. I like that, and I like alts all the way up.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. To be honest, I think they might force him in a bit just to try and get him to that line too. I really don't see that as that far-fetched of a possibility. I love the Kenneth Walker here on over 48.5. We saw the Niners D be awful. So I'm totally on with you on that one. I'm gonna move it to the next one here. Baltimore and Pittsburgh. You had the audacity to write skip on this game. The most important game of the week, arguably. Last playoff spot in the AFC, and you're just like, nah, we shouldn't talk about it. Don't bet on this one.
These 2 teams have not been any fun to watch.
They're
So, are we
bad.
saying that Pittsburgh is 3.5 point dogs at home?
They are.
Jesus.
That was one of my favorite ones. I kind of do like the Pittsburgh plus 3.5, but like I also think Pittsburgh sucks. I think that ball club is really boring. And without Darnell Washington and DK Metcalf, I'm freaking terrified. Like, who the heck is Rodgers throwing the ball to this week? Like, I think they have Adam Thielen. Like, that might be the line you want to look at. But I saw the Kenneth Gainwell at 27.5, Muth at 29. I can believe in those guys. I think Fryermuth is an above average tight end in the NFL. He just found himself in Arthur Smith's grasp, and Arthur Smith loves to get guys to 500 and won't let you get much past that. So I don't know. That's where I think I'm going to be putting my money. Where are you looking at in this game?
That's why I put Skip. I just don't want to put my money on this game. I think the right side is to be on Pittsburgh plus 3.5 at home. And this is where Mike Tomlin's defense gets up for it. And right now we have some recency bias with Baltimore. All we can think about is last week, Derrick Henry running it down the throats of Green Bay. But that was last week, and football is a week-to-week game. And you're right. There are no weapons, but sometimes you gotta like plug your nose and take it. And I think this week this would be the Pittsburgh game that you got to plug your nose and take.
I'm with it, but let's move it into this next topic here. I threw together like 2026 preview of early undervalued and overvalued players. I put like 20 players on the list, so we don't need to talk about all of them. But who stands out for you on this list? Because I threw a lot of undervalued names on here, and I'd love to see which ones were actually lined up.
Well, I'm also a Brees Hall lover, and it was great to see him scamper away last week with another long touchdown. They're going to end up tagging him, and he's going to be another miserable asset on the Jets. So I don't know how to feel about him right now. I'm definitely not giving up on Dynasty, but if he has to waste another freaking year on that garbage team, I don't know.
Well,
it was just
actually, so you aren't as big of a college guy, but Fernando Mendoza looked legit today. If they can find a way to get him in the draft, I actually might like that team.
Yeah, right now a lot of people have him going to the Raiders, right, at the 1 pick.
Yeah, I think they would have to trade up for it, but yeah, I would love to see them do that. I think the Jets need a QB.
Yeah, I mean they have a couple pieces, right, with Wilson coming back, which will be great. Brees Hall, yeah. And then they found something with these assets that they acquired in trade. Second year for Mason Taylor. No more Justin Fields. Like it's got to be a better team. So you're right. He probably will be undervalued again, and but he'll be sitting right there in the middle of the RB dead zone. So gonna have to.
Love that spot.
But don't fall behind this year, RB. I think people are going to be grabbing him early and often, and he might be a perfect third piece if you start RB.
Yeah,
Terrence Ferguson. Yeah, I like that name on this list too. We're seeing him break out right now. So is that genie going to be out of the lamp by the time the Rams are done with their Super Bowl run?
We'll see. If they make a big playoff run and he makes some plays in the playoffs, this one won't hold up. But if for whatever reason the Rams love doing this, they give Parkinson a bunch of targets. Higbee comes back from injury healthy, which this seems unlikely, but even that happening would really impact Terrence Ferguson's draft stock. And to be honest, like that team plays in 13 personnel at a higher rate than any ball club in the NFL, and that's not going to change next year. So Ferguson's going to get some opportunity. And to be honest, I can't see him going higher than tight end 24. Like Terrence Ferguson isn't going to go into this offseason with all the slappies from redraft who did not see him play well whatsoever. Like he's not going to go into this offseason and have a lot of people saying Terrence Ferguson's the best player in the draft. Like he's going to be in that Jatavian Sanders range from this past year. And that's why I'm terrified to take him. But I really have loved what I've seen.
Well, we've seen the ceiling already. So if he's really truly in that round 16 to 18, I mean, he'll be a perfect gobble up when you're picking up 3 at the end. So I really like that name on this list. The name I didn't like on this list was Xavier Worthy. I didn't see anything this year, and I don't understand why it's going to get any better next year.
So here's my argument for Worthy, and I'm a big Worthy guy, so I can accept that this is a bias that I can't get away from because his metrics are correlated to a good player. He comps to good players. He comps to the Tyreek Hills of the world. He comps to the Marquise Browns. He comps to guys who have had relevant fantasy seasons. He didn't this past year, but the Chiefs are going to lose some of those assets. They might lose Tyquan Thornton. They might lose some of their other guys in their offense. Travis Kelce could be out of there, and their defense isn't great right now. Like they have a chance of being a bit more of a shootout ball club, and they were this year. In that circumstance, year three for a wide receiver. And to go along with that, Worthy, a lot of people don't remember week one, but Travis Kelsey laid the biggest hit on his own teammate of the season, separating Xavier Worthy's shoulder on the second play of the game in the first week of the season. He came back quick, but when guys come back quick, a lot of the times we see them play through that injury. And then we saw Rashi Rice come in. The offense's composition changed a lot. Then we saw all of the Chiefs players get injured all at the same time. So, like, I still believe there's a ceiling, and I think you're going to be able to get Worthy in the 14th round. So if I'm taking a flyer, that's the kind of guy that I want to take that flyer.
Yeah, I think about him in the Marvin Mims range from last year, which is somewhere in the 10th, around 120 or so. And actually, when I do put him up in that space, and I think about some of the other players in that area, I do like his profile. We saw it in the Super Bowl last year. He does have that ceiling. They didn't connect on deep balls again this year, but it only takes connecting on a couple of those. The injury is a good thing to bring in. And all right, I like it. I'm glad we talked about it.
I sold you. I'm so sorry. That was a bad choice on my part. I just cost you lots of money. The only other one on here that I think is worth bringing up for sure is BTJ, because I don't think people are gonna respect enough how good of a player BTJ can be. And I actually was reading up on it. Like, he had a death, I believe, in the family that happened midway through this year, and he had seemed distracted and dejected from most of the season. I don't like commenting on people's mental space, but to be honest, like, if there was one guy this year aside from Marvin Harrison Jr., who I refuse to put on this list, he's burned me too many times. It's it's a guy who could not catch the ball after being a very consistent deep threat and middle of the field option last year. So even with Jacoby Myers there, I'm willing to believe that BTJ still has ceiling, and I think you're going to be able to get him in that 5-6 range next year, if not later, especially early best ball. Like, I know we haven't gotten into the teaser, but we're going to be doing a lot of best ball here, and I have a feeling early in the offseason when people are still mad at BTJ, that's going to be when you can get him at like the 7-8 turn.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. I think of the JMO, Waddle, Olave kind of turn from this last year, and a couple years ago, it was when T. Higgins fell back into the middle of the fourth, and I just found it to be such an exceptional deal. And then Rome, who was in this zone last year and is going to be back in this zone again with his injury. It doesn't sound like he's going to play even in the playoffs at this point. And I know everyone's really hyped on Luther Burden, who's going to end up going well in front of Rome at this point, but I'm not ready to give up on Rome, expecting another good season from him. We know, and that team is ascending, right? The Bears offensively are ascending, and same thing with Jacksonville. I like players on both of those teams. We know that those head coaches are offensive minded. They're just getting started. We've seen the effects of both of them in other organizations and now in these new respective teams. Like, I'm really excited. And I believe somewhere in the bad, I wrote something about jumping off the Trevor Lawrence bandwagon right before he started taking off. Oh no. I heard like an interview where him and coach were talking about just, getting out there and ripping it. Now all of a sudden Trevor Lawrence is playing a lot better because he's just running around like a wild man. And like, God, do I have to jump back in? You say no, but let's watch this playoff run.
I don't want to, but you've been good. I'm with you. Like, and the QB touchdown line, man. We saw that one play where he tripped, fell over himself, broke 2 tackles, and scored a touchdown. I think that's where his season shaped around. But back to Rome there. Yeah, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Or Rome wasn't built in a May, which is the name of my championship team that had Drake May and Rome Odunze on it.
Fantastic. Love that. Well, let's move into early overvalued here. Any of these names stand out to you? T-Law is the one that I think I'm going to be the most out on, because if T-Law goes anywhere close to like the 5-6 turn, I won't have T-Law.
I'm really excited for the quarterbacks this year. I just think that there are so many names now of guys who can run the ball in that middle. Like, Drake May was a perfect candidate for that this year. I thought Jordan Love went in a fine spot. Justin Herbert is a good quarterback where he went this year. Jaden Daniels will probably fall a little bit, but he'll be a nice grab. Lamar will fall a little bit, but hard to not get back on that MVP bandwagon. We saw elite quarterbacks fail this year overall. Josh Allen outperformed his ADP, but outside of that, the other three main guys did not. Two of those were mostly injury based. We saw some regression from Washington. So I'm just really excited about the QB landscape. I think there's going to be a lot of good deals, and I'm getting really comfortable, I think, with the three QB teams in best ball now, and I'm excited to see what kind of mixing and matching I can do this summer.
I am exact same boat, and you named a bunch of guys that I totally agree with. Some of the other ones on here that I think are going to be overvalued. Wandale Robinson, I don't think you have any business picking him if Neighbors is looking like he can come back healthy. Pickens, I think, is going to go a little bit higher than he should. He might end up being around the CeeDee Lamb range, which would blow my mind, but I could see it happening. Like, tell me I'm wrong there. Like, there are going to be people who are like, no, you're an idiot. George Pickens is the one on that team. And he might be, but, like, I've seen enough from CeeDee Lamb to think that they have 2-1s.
Yeah, well, they're talking about CeeDee Lamb being at the 1-2 turn right now. And I'm sure Pickens can't be too far behind. Their week to week passing yards were equivalent coming down the stretch. I don't think we saw the most out of CD this year. He had that high ankle sprain that set him back. By the time he got back, the team was kind of failing. And I think CD, that was someone I had on the good value list. He's going to fall about 8+ spots in the draft. And I would say that his situation, he does have more competition. No doubt about that. He does. But that offense is going to remain good. That defense is going to remain mediocre to bad. And it depends. If Pickens is mid 1, then that's going to be hard to pick. But if he's the 2-3 turn, I don't know. Is he really a round worse than CeeDee Lamb, especially in a format that favors ceiling play?
Maybe not. Maybe not. I'm kind of with you there. That kind of talks me into it. But you know what? The last point on here, and I'll let you talk on this one a lot, but I totally agree with it. Is RBs as a whole finish much better than expected? James Cook, Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, like everyone aside from Saquon Barkley, essentially was playing way out of their minds. And this was a great year for elite running back. And I'm kind of with you. Like, this is kind of like a couple of years back when we saw that elite running back resurgence. And it was like, well, this is the easiest thing in the world for best ball. Lean into the wide receivers.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how these running backs are pulled up this year. We've seen 2 years in a row with all the major players in the rounds 1 and 2 staying relatively healthy the entire season. And it has led to large scores, which has always been the truth about fantasy football, is if you get one of those elite running backs on your team, you are so advantaged. What I can't decide is that even with it being pulled up, do I still want to be really aggressive in there? Start off with those 2 RB teams, which is really critical to win these tournaments, is to have these RBs go off. And then just kind of value pick from there. Realize that the dead zone is pulled up. The dead zone this year is going to be in the 4th round instead of like the 5th, 6th round. And then you're going to get better wide receiver values later. So even though it feels more aggressive that these running backs are going to be pulled up, you almost have to go with that aggression and grab those pieces that you need early, knowing that there's going to be some good wide receiver value later. And then one thing I noticed a lot this year is we spend a lot of time talking about zero RB, but this concept of zero wide receiver, or this idea of building a basket of wide receivers who can put together enough good performances a week to fill your 3 wide receiver spots, and basically rely on your RBs to always fill the 2 RBs and the flex spot. And it's not something that I've leaned towards a ton, kind of got caught up in the major wide receiver pull up. But you have guys, Keenan Allen, when we knew he was going to sign for a team, he didn't end up being good down the stretch, but he played his role earlier in the season, and it gave you time to have your rookies grow up, so that on a winning team, you can have Burden who's peaking, and meanwhile you have Keenan Allen who's kind of dragging, but your compilation really pulled you forward throughout. So
yeah, interesting. I love that. I love that dichotomy with Luther Burden and Keenan Allen, like 2 former and current Bears players that I definitely see exactly where you're coming from. And we saw that for Keenan Allen early. And like, if you had him on a lot of your teams, if you were in redraft, you struggled to find the right weeks to play Keenan Allen. And in best ball, he was just about the best asset you could have asked for at the last pick of your draft. But we've been talking best ball here. This has been a really fun show. But what are we doing this off season, Scott? Because you're gonna be killing it on this podcast, and we're gonna be doing a lot of drafting, I think.
Well, I was already drafting anyway, and it's more fun to draft with friends. So when Addi proposed to me the idea of a draft a week, I said, let's do it. I'm stoked. We're going to have some guests come in and join us. We did the Greyhound live last year. It's fun to look back at that. Austin's team ended up making the playoffs, even though I liked mine better down the stretch. But it'll be fun, and we can get the community to join and get in the chat together and go through some drafts, and hopefully we can build some momentum and steam as we get into the summer. We'll have a good following, and we'll just go with the flow. But excited to talk best ball, do best ball. We'll be talking tips and tricks like roster construction, stacking week 17, some of the values of that. Of course, that's going to be post draft. We won't know anything about the schedule pre-draft. We're going to be doing the prospect work together, which is going to be super fun. As these rookies are flying up draft boards, we're going to understand which ones we really want to be flying up with and which ones we want to leave behind. So I'm stoked. This is going to be the most fun off season yet.
Oh yeah, I'm real excited for it. We are going to be hitting a draft a week, and we'll be getting all sorts of people in here to do them with us. To be honest, that Greyhound draft is one of my favorite videos that we've recorded too, because seeing those picks and being able to talk out the actual strategy that's going behind where we want our teams to be, and like starting to think about that early, has been one of the most helpful things for me in fantasy football. Like being able to know how your pick impacts you in the future. Like it's the biggest problem I have in my California league that I really do love. Like I always have my plan set in stone in that league, and I have to have it written down because I know I'm going to be drinking too much. And I never get to do the thing that like I really find to be my most useful quality in best ball drafts and some of my higher volume leagues, where you stay fluid. You let the draft board come to you. You don't have rigidity, and you kind of can't in the best ball streets, because when that roster presents itself, like I've been looking at some of the teams that are winning these bigger tournaments. You won the Chow Chow Champ in 2024, and I'm sure you know this, that like when you look at those rosters, you're like, how in the hell did they end up with all those players? And then you can look at those draft boards and be like, if you were in that spot, there were a ton of landmines that were just calling your name. Like if you maintain that fluidity, you don't make those mistakes. So it's going to be fun. I really look forward to seeing how that develops our strategy and being able to put some data behind this, because this first season we've been killing it. I've had a lot of fun on it, and like the YouTube and streaming environment is such a more fun one than the podcast one to me.
Yeah, no, this has been such a great experience this year. I appreciate you having me on the show, and I'm glad we made the pivot to betting, where I think we're good at it. That's why we decided that we were going to make that pivot. Looking forward to getting more into the facts and details and data as I continue to get more like comfortable with a stream, and just appreciate you heading into the new year. Look at us go.
Hell yeah, brother. Same here. This is the year of Scott and Addi, man. I hope people are ready. We're about to be polluting up those best ball boards. But this has been a fun show. You got anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here?
Nope. Usually we'd be going off to go watch some Thursday night football. I can honestly say I'm already missing it, but I don't know, go bet on some random basketball tonight, or I guess Christmas movies are done. So nope, ready to get out of here and for some playoff football coming up in the next couple of weeks. Yeah, there's some fun formats out there. I'll make sure I get you an invite to this one we do, where you only get to pick a player once throughout the whole playoff run.
Okay.
So it's a measure of, hitting the right player in the right week, but also having a lineup that you can fill out at the end that can still score enough. So it's fun.
Hell yeah. Totally with you. And you mentioned playoffs real fast before we get out of here. I won't make us do the whole one, but my Chicago Bears are in the playoffs. I can't wait for playoff football. I'm going to be in California for it, so I'm excited to watch that one. I'm hitting Tahoe and getting on the slopes out there. So this is going to be a fun year. We ended this one strong. We're going to go into 2026 even stronger here. Scott, tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me at S Maltese on X. Or Chonks in the underdog streets. You're 2024 chow chow champ, but gonna have to find a way to win a new one next year.
Damn right, damn right. We're gonna have some new accolades going into this next year. And remember, stick with League Champ throughout this offseason. We'll be doing contests all year. But we're gonna be opening up an NFL draft contest before the Senior Bowl too. I mentioned this to you, Scott, but me and JC are going to be in Mobile, Alabama, covering the athletes, getting some interviews. So it won't be too long before our intro video is going to include Fernando Mendoza. This is the league champ, Two Guys, One Pod network show. So that's going to be a cool thing to actually be a part of. I'm going to need to try to not fangirl too hard when I'm out there. But I am Addi Dugnar. You can find me at Duck League Champ and League.champ on TikTok. Be sure to stick with us, and I hope you guys have a fantastic off season, had a great holiday season, and get after it. I hope this was a fun show, or this such a bad. I'm so fucking bad at the endings of these shows. I never have the outro right. You know what? As I always say, Fernando Mendoza forever, Geno Smith never. Let's get the hell out of here.
Peace.